Now, it's no secret that sometimes dubs can be objectively terrible compared to the original. I mean, hell, sometimes they're so bad that they're hilarious.
Oh dearie me, I've just kicked the bucket. Fuck you!
Though as funny as those dubs can be, they're not what I'm here to talk about today. Since the early days of the anime community, dubs have always been mostly considered either below average or on par with the source material. And usually, those that are on par are just those that are directly translated and localized without much of any tampering. But directly translating is one thing. What is it that takes a dub to the next level and makes it even superior to the original audio? Hello everyone, this is the RPG Monger, and today I want to discuss some anime whose dubs actually make the anime better than it was originally. And while there's one major example of this that I'll be focusing on, here are some others I thought would be worth mentioning. When making a dub for an anime, and this goes for just about any language really, there is a set process to everything. From the very start with licensing to the actual recording sessions themselves, it's quite the process. However, while picking the right voice actors for the job is integral for the dub's success, it's the adaptation and script writing section of the process that truly determines whether the dub will be pure gold or absolutely rotten. Fun fact, the actual translation of the dialogue within an anime isn't even what ends up being used to create the dub. What ends up happening is a completely different writer will take that translation plus any side notes the translator made with them, and will then mold all of those things together into the dubbing script we end up seeing. Hell, sometimes the writers of those scripts are the actual voice actors themselves, really allowing them to add that extra amount of quality in the dub they themselves will be recording. Though to make a dub truly shine and even outshine the original audio, it's the rewriting portion of this process that truly matters. Now, this is a necessity in dubbing, but of course, the dub script has to sound natural in the language it's being dubbed in. That's why the original raw translation doesn't make the cut. Especially with things like references to pop culture, many dubs are forced to just swap those out with ones that the new viewers will catch on to. The dub of Steins Gate is a great example of this. But beyond all of that, what makes a truly stellar dub is when writers actually take things a step further and change the scripts to better suit what they think fits in with the show. Take our first example, created by Gainax in 2010, Panty Stocking with Garter Belt is an anime like no other in the fact that it's actually styled like a Western cartoon. I mean, if you had no prior knowledge of the show, you'd think it's something straight out of Invader Zim. And just by that basis alone, it having an English dub is kind of a given. The two just naturally fit together. But that's not all. Whereas the original Japanese lines for the show are pretty standard and bland considering what's actually happening on screen, the English dub goes above and beyond to fit the vulgarity and insanity that is this anime. Just see for yourself with this.
Did you decide you wanted some?
Did you decide you wanted to shut the fuck up?
Oh, Stocking.
Yes, whore.
Are you on a diet? You can tell me!
Of course not. Why would you say that? I'm naturally petite and thin. I'm the reason tweens make themselves hurl.
There's no doubt that Funimation were in their element when making this, and it shows. Panty Stocking aren't even the only dubs to go above and beyond either. There are plenty out there, but to name a few, I've particularly enjoyed the dubs of both JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and My Hero Academia due to this regard. They both really do surpass the original audio at points, in my opinion, though at least in JoJo's case, nobody can ever replace Takahito Koyasu for Dio. You just cannot get a voice better than this. Then again, we haven't seen those episodes dubbed yet, so we'll have to see how good old Patrick Seitz ends up doing in that regard. However, now it's time to move on to our main specimen, an anime whose dub actually turns what was a boring, sloppy mess of a show into one of the most unexpectedly hilarious comedies you'll ever see. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I give you Ghost Stories. Now, I'm sure you've heard the rumors about this anime and its infamous dub, dub, but before I can actually go into it, the backstory alone to all of this is simply incredible. Long ago, in the great year 2000, Studio Pierrot released a spooky show centered around 5 kids and a cat who would exorcise a ghost in every episode, kind of like a Japanese Scooby-Doo in a way. Well, point blank, the show was an utter failure. While it started out alright, its episodic nature kind of spelled its own demise, with the plot being not only boring, but really repetitive too. It was such a flop that they had to actually pull copies off of the shelves due to them selling so poorly. For all intents and purposes, Ghost Stories should have then been lost to time, a crappy forgotten show that nobody liked. Though ironically enough, it would be the fact that it was such a failure that would lead to its international fame, or infamy. Ghost Stories was licensed to ADV Films. The thing is, since the anime was such a failure, the people behind the show actually told ADV flat out that the show was garbage, and if they did as much as keep the names of the characters, keep the names of the ghosts, since they were all based on real legends, and keep the way the ghosts were exorcised intact, then they could do whatever they thought would make the anime sell. And they did just that. What was once a bland, formulaic anime had been molded into a hilarious show that tried to offend everyone it could.
There's nothing to be afraid of, Pichu. Monsters only get evil people like Republicans, and we're not old enough to vote.
Like, for instance, remember how ADV were told that they couldn't change the way that ghosts were killed? Well, they didn't, but since many of the ghosts were killed with magical chants, they could, in theory, change what the chants were. And boy did they take that opportunity. In one episode where originally the chant was, "Kutabe Kutabe, kick the bucket, disappear into the spirit world," ADV changed it to, "Kutabe Kutabe, kick the bucket, Kutabe Kutabe, you can suck it." And that's only scratching the surface of everything ADV changed. Take the actual characters of the anime, where most of them had certain traits exaggerated greatly, there were some that were given completely different personalities. Just to list a few, Momoko, who originally was a fearless and brave character that also had a psychic connection with Satsuki's mother, was heavily changed in the ADV dub. In the dub, she's a born-again evangelical Christian who constantly references Christianity whenever she can, making for one hell of a gag throughout the show.
You're such brave, strong, handsome men. Have you accepted Jesus as your personal savior?
No, I'm Jewish.
I just want to make sure that you're saved. I am, and ever since I was saved, I've had the gifts.
Or Hajime, whose courageous tendencies in the original are accentuated by ADV into him having a massive ego. Plus, they made him into a major pervert as well.
I'm too young to die. The only person I've had sex with is my babysitter.
Oh, and I cannot forget Keiichiro, Satsuki's little brother, who ADV definitely picked on the most. Since for the majority of the show, Keiichiro's lip flaps would always be so widely open all the time, for lack of a better term, ADV made his character a bit slow.
What do you want?
Thanks a lot, man.
Huh? I think she's right. You are retarded.
What'd I say? Where are you going?
With the dub script not only being written by Stephen Foster, but all the voice actors as well, it really shows how powerful creative freedom can be, especially with a good bunch of scenes being completely ad-libbed. I swear, there are just so many good scenes here, it's hard to pick my favorite to show you all, though if I did have to pick just one, this would have to be it.
When he died, I was so sad that I would never hear that voice again. His laugh. His funny little requests.
Touch me.
His reprimands.
Touch me harder.
But believe it or not, this isn't even the oldest incident of a dub making an anime better. Take Samurai Pizza Cats, a show that aired in the 90s, which when licensed, didn't even come with any sort of a translation at all. What Saban Entertainment then had to do is more or less rewrite the entire show from scratch, thus making it way more appealing to Western audiences. I mean hell, to this day, the anime community prefers this pun-filled dub to the original original. But when it all comes down to it, anime dubs are a matter of preference. One person may prefer them because they don't like reading subtitles, and another might prefer subs just because they like going with the original audio. I completely understand that, though in the cases of the series I've talked about today, and a lot of newer dubs out there, don't knock it until you try it. Who knows, you may end up liking the dub more in the end. And honestly, if you think about it, dubs like Ghost Stories and Samurai Pizza Cats are kind of one of the first abridged series. Though before I end this video off, I feel I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't show you all at least one more clip from the Ghost Stories dub. It's just too good.
A police station! Thank God! I never thought I'd be happy to see one of those things. Hey, put the donuts down! Drop the Krispy Kreme, Serpico! We need your help
Does my
here!
house look like my father and my brother after 9 months or something?
Yeah, diggity.
If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, do subscribe, and today's cool thing of the day is the Bayonetta series. Recently, with me finally getting a chance to play not only one, but two as well with the recent Switch release, I have to say that this is a series you don't want to miss out on, along with the absolutely wonderful aesthetic the series has with you fighting demons, angels, and everything in between. The combat Bayonetta has is quite fluid and satisfying. If you've been hungry for a solid action game, I highly suggest this series. So that being said, I'm the RPG Monger, and don't forget that each and every one of you are fantastic.
Touch me harder.